What's up guys, this is Casey Underhill bringing you a Blender tutorial for today. This is what we're going to be making. This is the Adirondack chair. It's part of my beach scene, but you can use it in whatever kind of scene that you would want to use it in. I thought it was kind of an interesting piece to make. It's fairly easy to model, but it's nice because it's kind of the first chair that a lot of carpenters that make furniture, they learn how to make. So I thought, why not give this a shot in Blender? So let's go ahead and get started today. Let me go to my 3D view, and first thing I want to do is get rid of these lines. They just get in my way. And we're going to also delete our cube and delete our lamp. And if at any time you need help knowing what I'm pushing or pressing on my keyboard or mouse, make sure you look down here in the bottom left corner. I've got screencast keys turned on. We're going to go ahead and start by going Shift A and adding a mesh plane. We're going to rotate that by 90 degrees. Oops. We're going to rotate that on the X by 90 degrees. And I want to hit 1 and 5 on my numpad to go to orthographic front view. And I think I want to scale this inwards on the x-axis a little bit here. Something like that. And I want to go ahead and do some loop cuts. So let me tab into edit mode, loop cut, and I know from experience that I need 15 to get the right amount of boards that I want. So this next part is kind of annoying, but we're just going to have to select each one of these loop cuts, and we're just going to scale them in on the x-axis. And let me see what looks good here. Is it 3.5 maybe? 0.35? Is that too little, too much? Let me see. 0.35. Alright, 0.35 is good. So scale in on the x-axis, 0.35, and then hit enter. And we're just going to do that for every one of these loop cuts. So scale x 0.35, enter. And we gotta keep doing this. We're gonna do this for every one of these. X 0.35, scale x 0.35, scale x 0.35, scale x 0.35, and this last one, obviously there's one loop cut and then the actual edge. We're gonna actually scale those ones in as well. So scale x 0.35. Okay, so now that we have all that, let's go ahead and go back to our vertice select mode, and let's select these bottom two vertices. No, actually let's select all of the bottom vertices, and let's just scale that in on the X to make this sort of fan-like shape. It's nothing too fancy, but now we want to go back to our face select mode, and you can see that this very first board here has it's not the same length as the other ones. I guess you could try to scale that out and fix it, but I don't want to do that. Instead, I'm just going to select that and then select each one of these small scaled loop cuts that we have. Oops. Including this last one. And I'm going to go ahead and delete those faces. So that gives me this sort of shape. And the important part about this is that it gives me 7 boards, which is important. We want an odd number because that gives us a board right here in the center. Okay, so our next thing that we're going to do is go back to our vertice select mode, select these 2 outer vertices, and we want our proportional editing turned on. And we're going to change from smooth to sharp. And grab that on the Z-axis and pull it down until we get something, oh, I don't know, right about there, I guess. If you need to adjust your circle a little bit to make it look better, go ahead and do that. That looks about right. And we are pretty much done with the back of the chair. So now what I want to do is I want to grab these edges here, and I want to go to my top view and grab it on the Y. Pull it in just a little bit. Something like that. So now it's got that curvature for the back of the for the back of whoever's sitting on it. Let's go ahead and select everything. I'm going to go to my side view and extrude it. And it should snap you to the correct vertice, which you can see with this sort of bluish line here. We're just going to pull it out a little bit to make our boards. Okay, so now that we have the back of our chair, let's go ahead and select everything, go mesh, normals, recalculate outside. And that's going to make all of our shading look appropriate. So now that we have that, I wanted to go to our middle board here and just select these back two vertices, go mesh, snap, cursor to selected. And then I'm going to tab out of edit mode. And I want to now shift A and add another plane. And we're going to rotate that on the X by 90 again. And we want to scale that in on the X-axis right until it gets just a little in between here. You might want to scale this down just a little bit more. Okay. And then we're going to scale it on the Z to make sure that we get a nice long, lengthy sort of board. And then we'll grab it on the Z. We'll pull it down right about, right about there. And you can kind of see what we're going for. We're going for those boards that are supporting the back of this chair. And let's see. Okay, let's go into edit mode here. And we're going to make more loop cuts. Again, we're going to go with 15. And this time we're not doing any scaling or anything like that. We just want to grab these outer vertices here. Make sure your proportional editing is still turned on and still set to sharp. And grab it on the Y. And you might have to readjust your outer circle using your mouse wheel again. Let's see. I think I got a little big here. Right. Yeah. Oh, too much. Right there. Just so it follows the basic curvature of the back. You can see it does overlap just a bit on this side. That's perfectly fine because we're just going to do this. Oops. Again, we're going to select everything, go to our side view, and we're going to extrude it right about there. And that's looking about right. So let's go ahead and select all those vertices again. Go mesh, normals, recalculate outside. That's just going to fix that shading issue that pops up with when you extrude things from a plane. And we can tab out of edit mode. And you can see that it has like these lines on the back. It makes it kind of hard shaded, and we don't want that. We want to smooth shade it. But now it looks really funky. So what we're going to do is come up here to the modifier tab, add modifier, edge split. And what that does is basically when you smooth shade something, it keeps it smooth shaded but keeps all the really hard edges as hard edges, which is exactly what we're looking for. So now that we have that one, by the way, if you hit Control and use the numpad number to change your view, it'll do the opposite view for you. So this is front view. That's just 1 on the numpad. Control 1 will give you back view, or 3 will give you the right side, and Control 3 will give you the left side. 7 is the top. Control 7 is the bottom. That's really going to come in handy later when we do our unwrapping. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my back view, which is Control Numpad 1, and we're going to Shift D to duplicate that, and hit Z along the Z axis. We're going to pull it down somewhere right about here, I think. We might have to move it, but we'll see. And I want to scale that on the X axis outwards, right about there. And you can see that now it's not touching the back of the chair. So let's go ahead and pull that in on the Y just a little bit, right about there. And then we're going to tab into edit mode, and we want to grab all 4 of these vertices and all 4 of these vertices, and make sure your proportional editing still on, still set to sharp. We'll grab that on the Y axis, pull that in just a bit, just to get it as close to the back of that chair as we can without it doing a lot of intersecting with that geometry. And I think we're pretty good with that one. Okay, so before we get too far, there are some modifiers that I need to keep adding to these. So while you have this bar selected here, go ahead and hit Control A, and we're going to apply the scale. And let's just do that for all the objects that we have so far. Apply the scale, Control A, and scale. Okay, so with this back selected, I'm going to add a new modifier, and this is going to be the bevel modifier. And if I come over here to the Scene tab, oops, wrong one, the Scene tab, I'm going to turn on metric units, which is going to give me real-world measurements. So go back to my bevel modifier, and I'm just going to set this to 5 millimeters. And you can see all that really does is just round out those edges a little bit, makes it a little softer, which is nice because on furniture like this you would really have softer edges where somebody sanded it down with the wood and maybe some stain or gloss or something that went over the top of it. It would just make it look a little bit better. So we're going to do that for this one as well. And the reason we applied the scale is, for some reason, if you don't apply the scale, it tries to apply the bevel to a different scale, the scale that it started at, which is much bigger, and you get much less or much more of an effect depending on the object that you use. I believe the bevel modifier needs to come before our edge split modifier. So if I click this little arrow, it'll bring that up. Yeah, there we go. Makes it look much, much better. And let's do one more bevel modifier. Bevel 5 millimeters. Move it up. Okay. So it looks like we have the back of our chair pretty much done. Okay, so now that we have the back done, I'm going to tab into edit mode on this bottom bar here, and I want to select these 2 vertices and mesh, snap, cursor to selected. And then I can tab out of edit mode, Shift A, add mesh plane. Now I'm going to my top view here and I just want to scale that down on the X until it looks, we might have to grab it on the X. Okay, we want this to be almost flush up against the back of the chair. Not quite, but just a little bit. So let's pull this inwards about right there, and then I'm going to scale it out just a bit more. Okay, so right about there. And I'm going to tab in edit mode, grab these vertices. Oops, we need to turn our proportional editing off for right now. So let's disable that. I'm going to grab that on the Y. Just going to pull that down right about here. Yeah, that looks about right. And now we're going to add some loop cuts. And I think for this one 4 works out nicely. So let's select these back two vertices, and we want our proportional editing back on. Make sure it's still set to sharp. We're going to grab those vertices on the Y, and we're going to have to mess with our circle again to make sure that we get something decent. And we're just looking for sort of a rounded edge on the back of it here. And we want to also do that on the front. So let's grab that one. And alright. And now I want to loop cut once right in the center, and then I'll loop cut 4 times towards the back. And then I'm just gonna grab the let's see, what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. 1, 2. So let's grab this one here. This is the middle one. So 1, 2, 3. That'd be the third cut here. And I want to do the same thing with the proportional editing. Grab that on the X. Gonna have to scale our circle up. Actually, let's change that from sharp to smooth. Where's smooth? There it is. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Okay, right about there, I think looks about right. So if we grab all those edges, let's go to 3, and we're going to extrude that up on the Z right about here. And we're just making guesses on this. If you wanted to be completely accurate in how like the width of your boards and things like that, you really could. If you click on that little plus sign, or if you hit the N key on your keyboard, it pops open this menu, and you can go down here to Mesh Display, and you can click Edge Info Length, and you can see that it shows you all the lengths of all of your edges. So as I extruded that, it would have shown exactly how big that extrusion was, that edge right there. And I could match that up with all of my other pieces. I'm not that crazy. I'm not looking for complete accuracy. I just go with what I see. But if you wanted to do that, that's a way that you could do that. Okay, so make sure we hit A on everything and do the normals, recalculate. I don't think there was anything wrong with it, but just to be on the safe side, might as well. And we can tab out of edit mode. And this is another one that we want to smooth shade and add that edge split modifier, because we have a lot of rounded little edges on this one that we want to make smooth. And do not forget to Control A, apply your scale, and we're going to also add that bevel modifier at 5 millimeters. And bring that above our edge split. Okay, so now that we have our arm of our chair here, we're going to Shift D on the X, move it over here, and we're going to go Object, Mirror, X Global. And then you want to left click when it is in the correct mirrored position. And then all we got to do is just move this into the position that we want. Something like that, I guess. These arms actually look a little small to me. We might come back and fix that. We'll see. Anyways, let's see, what should I do next? Let's do the bottom of the chair where you actually sit. So let's grab the back, tab into edit mode, and we're going to grab the front 2 vertices of the middle board, mesh snap cursor to selected, and tab out of edit mode, Shift A, mesh plane, and I'm going to go to my top view and my wireframe mode, I think, and scale that on the X right about No, it needs to keep coming in. Something like that, I think. We still might be a little close. We'll see, we'll see. We just want a little bit of excess off the side, not too much. This is actually about perfect length, so I'm just going to tab into edit mode, grab these two vertices. Oops, make sure you turn our proportional editing off. Grab that on the Y. I'm going to pull that in. Let's grab it on the Y again. Right about there. Okay, so this is going to be the actual seat part of the chair. So let's go ahead and loop cut this. And we're going to do 15 again. And unfortunately we have to do the exact same thing we did last time. So let's go to our edge select mode. And I find it's easier to work on individual objects like this when you have a cluttered scene. If you just hit the slash on your numpad, that'll hide everything except for what you're working on in edit mode. So let's go ahead and scale these on the Y. Let's see how far we should go. Scale them in on the Y. Let's do a 0.3 this time. Grab these two, scale Y 0.3. Grab these two, scale Y 0.3. 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 And the back as well. Scale Y 0.3. Okay. So now that we have that, this time we are not going to delete this extra board here. We're actually going to use that length edge info. And what are we at? 2 meters. Nope, we want 9.62. This is 12.114. So let's grab that on the Y to about 12.114. A little bit less. Okay, 12.055 is as close as I can get. That is much better than it was. So I'm gonna turn off my length info, hide that toolbar, and get rid of. Actually, should I get rid of that? Before I do that, let me. I'm gonna make 2 more loop cuts going vertically on this, and I want to scale those out on the x-axis. And we're just going to take a little guess here about right there. Yeah, okay. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and delete these faces in here. Like this. And faces. And we also want to delete these back faces on these ones. So faces. Okay, so before we extrude, like we usually do, I want to grab those faces here on the front side, and I'm going to turn my proportional editing back on. I think smooth is still going to work here. And nope, let's go sharp. Nope, sharp doesn't work either. Maybe linear. Still not working. Ha, here we go. Let's just rotate it instead of moving it around. And then we'll grab it on the Z just a little bit. Something like that. There we go. Okay, that looks much better. Now, if you want to, you can grab this, one of these ones in the middle here, and you can grab that one on the Z and just give it a little bit of an extra. Sorry guys, I'm losing my voice. Just give it a little extra bevel to it. Makes it just a little bit more interesting. And I think we're set. So let's go ahead and extrude. Disable my proportional editing here. I'll extrude it down, yeah, right about there, I think. Yeah. Okay, so let me select everything, go mesh, normals, recalculate outside, and we're looking pretty good. So let me hit my slash key to go back to my chair. Oh yeah, that's looking much better. Okay, so let's tab out of that one here, and let's go ahead and apply our modifier for our bevel. I'm going to make that 5 millimeters. And I think we are almost there. You know what? I think this needs to be extruded just a little bit more. It looks a little flat to me. So I'm just going to go vertice select mode. And I'm hitting control or holding control. And that's just giving me like a lasso tool. And I'm going to grab that down on the Z. There's something about there, I think. Yeah, that's looking better. Okay. So now that we have that, let's see. Let's do the legs of our chair, I guess. Grab this arm. And let's go from these two vertices here. Go mesh, snap, cursor to selected. And we can tab back out of edit mode on that. Oh, you know what? I think we forgot to apply our scale for our bottom of the chair. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. If so, we did it again. Whatever. Alright, let's, now that we've got this here, let's go ahead and Shift A, and we're going to add a cube this time. And we want to scale that in on the X. And we want to make this cube about a little bit half of the width of the arm of the chair. And let's go ahead and scale it in on the Y. And we want the width or the Y value of the cube to be a little bit bigger than our X value. Grab it on the Y and pull it in here. Somewhere, oh, right about here looks good. Okay, that's looking about the, well, maybe pull that in on the X a little bit. Okay, so now we have a little bit of an issue, which usually pops up in this. You can see that we are overlapping just enough on the bottom of the chair here. However, we are popping out up here. So the easiest way I found to get around this is just to move this arm of the chair a little bit. So we're just going to grab that on the X and move it until it just doesn't overlap. So right about something like that, maybe one little tiny bit more right there. And double check the arm of your chair, make sure it's not overlapping with this, which it kind of is. Let's maybe, okay, let's actually pull this back just a tiny bit. Okay, that looks good enough. It's just barely touching the inner part of the chair, and this is going to be hidden. So go ahead and go back to my front view, and I'm going to grab this on the Z. Alright, about there. Tab into edit mode. Grab all of these top vertices. That's why I'm in wireframe mode. So you can see the top of it's there. I'm going to grab that down on the Z. Right here. And that is pretty much it for that leg. So I'm going to go ahead and add the bevel modifier. Go 5 millimeters. Make sure we apply the scale. Okay, let's go ahead and duplicate that on the x-axis for the other side. And I want to line it up with my bottom part of my chair where the person's going to be sitting at. I want to get that as close as possible. And we have the same issue on this side that we had on the other side. So let's go ahead and grab that on the X. Okay, so this is, I think, I actually need to scale this in on the X a little bit. Right about there. And that's going to make me need to scale this in on the X a bit. And I think we're set. I think we're looking pretty good there. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have that, let me see. How did I do this one yesterday? Okay, so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Control 7 on my numpad. That's going to bring me to my bottom view. Oh, actually, let me grab these two vertices first. Then I'll Control 7. And I want to just extrude that out on the x-axis till it reaches about the edge of that chair. Right about there. And now I want to make a loop cut. Right there. And we're just going to grab these. Oops, actually let me do corners like that. Like that. I'm just hitting F to make a face after I select these vertices. And we have our little edge. Just a little edge. And we can do the same thing on this side. So let's tab in, grab that, Control 7 on the numpad, extrude it on the X, and oh, actually, you know what? I don't want to do that. Let me Control Z, tab out. Instead, what I want to do, because the loop cut, I didn't pay attention to where the loop cut was at on the other side, so instead I'm going to make this a completely separate object. So I'm going to go face select mode, select these three faces. I'm going to hit P, selection, tab out of edit mode. Now that little corner is its own separate object. So I'm going to go ahead and shift the X, pull it over here. Then I want to object mirror X global. And then we can try to line that up here. Grab it on the X. Pull it in a little bit. And that looks about right. So now we have two identical pieces here. Okay. So I guess the last thing that we have to do here for the actual modeling portion is that we need to make the legs that come out. And the legs are kind of awkward, but I think I found a solution that is fairly easy for this. So let's grab the bottom of the chair. We're going to tab into edit mode. And we're just going to grab these two faces here. Sorry guys, my voice is going out. Okay, and I'm just going to extrude those down. And I want to line it up kind of with this leg. It's not going to matter a whole lot because we're going to change those legs, but okay, so let me think of how I did this here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my vertice select mode, and we want the legs of the chair to basically overlap with this leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one and all of these little inner vertices here until we reach right about there. And I'm going to hit F and make a face. And we're going to do that again for the other side. Select all of these little vertices right in here. Oops. And F to make a face. and then we'll select these outside vertices, F to make a face. And that pretty much gives us what we're looking for. Actually, looks like I messed up. Did I? Yeah, I did. Right there. There we go. Okay, so that pretty much gives us our leg. I don't think I can loop cut that, can I? Nope. I didn't think so. Anyways, we're just going to do that again for the other side. This is kind of the boring, annoying parts of these modeling projects. It's just messing with all the little details. But this way that I found is a lot easier than the way I did it the first time. I still managed to get a good result the way I did it. It was just, it's not a teachable way. There's a lot of eyeballing and extruding and messing with lengths, and I don't know. It was not fun. It was not fun. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to go to my wireframe mode. Oh, too many. Select these vertices here, and I just want to smooth it out. Something... Actually, let's pull this out. Maybe... Can I loop cut it? Maybe I can loop cut it. No. I keep saying that. That keep won't let me do it. Alright, let's just smooth that out just a little bit. Something like that. And maybe grab the back side. And I don't know what I'm doing. It was fine the way it was. Just leave it there. I don't know. We're crazy. Don't listen to me. It's fine the way it is. I'm just trying to nitpick with it. Okay, so I do believe that just about everything on this is done now for the modeling part. Just double checking everything. Alright. Double check and make sure I got my bevels everywhere. That I do. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to actually grab almost all of this model. I'm just holding shift and right clicking. And the only part I don't want to grab is I don't want to grab the bottom where people sit, which is connected to the back legs. I'm going to go to view 3, which is my side view, and I want to rotate it. Something about like that. Grab it on the Y. Make sure it meshes up. Okay. And now I just want to grab these two legs together, and I'm going to Control J to join them together. Tab into edit mode. And I just want to grab these legs on the Z-axis. Whoa, I grabbed the whole thing, didn't I? Grab them on the Z. We're just trying to line it up as best we can with the back legs. So I'm going to rotate that a bit. Something like that. And that gives our chair just a nice, like, leaned back kind of look to it. Alright. I think we're pretty much finished with the modeling. The next part that we're going to work on is going to be the materials. And I'm going to make a separate tutorial for the materials. Not because the materials are difficult. The material itself is actually really easy. But it takes a little bit of time to do the unwrapping, the UV unwrapping for all of this. And I don't want you guys to have to be stuck here for a couple hours to watch it. If you don't want to, you can do it yourself. It's pretty basic, but I'll get into that into another part. So thank you guys for watching, and if you're interested in seeing the materials tutorial, then I will have a part 2 for the Adirondack chair. Be on the lookout for it. Have a good day.